guys, I'm Kimberly from Fat Quarter Shop, and today I'm going to show you how to make a quick, fast fat quarter quilt only using 9 fat quarters and a solid charm pack. Now the quilt is right here. It's super cute. It's not going to use a pattern. It's just going to be this video tutorial. It's so easy. I know you can do it. For this quilt, you need 9 fat quarters, a solid charm pack, a binding, and a backing. So for this quilt, I took our Callie & Co. Petite Fat Quarter Bundle, which actually has 12 fat quarters. I'm gonna take the 2 light out, and then I'll probably take one of these oranges out, and then I'll be left with just 9 fat quarters for my quilt. And I encourage you to find 9 fat quarters from your stash and start with those so you're not having to buy anything. Let me first show you how you cut up your 9 fat quarters. It's so easy, you can almost memorize it. So I'm gonna show you a trick to ironing your fat quarters before you cut. I'm gonna be cutting 4 at a time. I have all of this starched and I wanna get all of this nice and flat before I cut. So you wanna get the entire fat quarter completely ironed and then add your next fat quarter. And what I'm doing is I'm aligning my salvages the same, the edge the same, and at least one corner the same. And then I'm gonna iron this layer. And now that I have all of that done, they're gonna be nice and pressed, so cutting is gonna be easier because the heat has them kind of synced all together. So when we ironed these 4 all together. This is the one that's messy. So we're gonna start with the edge we lined up, and I'm gonna use about 1/2 inch. So I'm gonna cut a straight edge, and then you look at that edge and make sure you got all layers. And what we're gonna cut is we're gonna cut 2 strips that are 7.5 inches wide first. Now most rulers are 6.5 inches. What I'm gonna do is just take an extra ruler that I have and line up the 1 inch and add these rulers together, and I'm gonna cut. So that is your 7.5 inch strip. Or you can just take an 8.5 inch ruler and cut a 7.5 inch strip. Either one works. You can save this for another project, or you could make a scrappy binding for this quilt. Now from here, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna gently move everything. Make sure these are lined up, and I'm gonna show you another trick. Instead of cutting towards myself, I'm gonna move this over. Line right there has this completely straight. You put another ruler next to it, move this ruler, and you now have a straight edge. So now you have 2 straight edges. From here, we're gonna cut 2 7.5 inch squares. So you can either use 2 rulers like I showed you if you don't have the 8.5, or you can use the 8.5, and then this is gonna be your 7.5 inch squares. And then we need to cut a 10.5 inch. So I'm gonna turn my ruler, put it at 10.5, which is right there. And if you want, you can take a second ruler and do the same thing. Make sure you have it all lined up, and that's your 10.5 inch line. And then you just cut across both rulers. And this is a way you can join your rulers so you're not having to buy so many of the square rulers. So from 9 fat quarters, you're gonna cut 2 7.5 inch squares and 2 7.5 inch by 10.5 inch rectangles. Now let's cut our solid charm pack. Now we need to have 144 2.5 inch squares. So if you take some of your charm packs and they're not starched, and you put that down, those should be 5 inches to start. So it's 5 inches one way and 5 inches the other way. So from that, you can cut a 2.5, turn that around and cut 2.5. And again, you need 144 2.5 inch squares. Now this is if you're not starching, you need 1 charm pack. If you're gonna starch like I do, you're gonna need 2 charm packs. And what you're gonna do is look at that, and one is gonna be 4 3/4 because it's shrunk, and one side's gonna be 5 inches right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna have a lot of waste with this. So I'm gonna cut one side, I'm gonna cut across to get it to 5 inches because it's actually a little bit bigger than 5 inches. Then I'm going to take this, turn this around, and I'm gonna get 2 2.5 inch squares from each charm pack. And this is gonna be waste. But I prefer to have really nice, crisp fabric. So you have two options. If you don't want to have any waste, use a regular charm pack without starching. And if you want to have crisp corners, just use a starched charm pack and you'll have a little bit of waste. You're gonna have 144 2.5-inch squares. What you're gonna do is draw a line on the wrong side of these squares. I'm using a friction marker. You can use any type of marking unit you would like. Now from here, you're gonna take all of your squares and all of your rectangles, and you're gonna put a solid square on each corner, and I'm just gonna lay those out just like that, and I'm gonna show you two different ways. You can either pin twice on each corner, which I'll do on the square. When you're sewing across this, you're gonna be sewing on the bias, so having the pins is gonna keep this from moving. Another method you could use is to use seam-aligned glue, and I like to put 3 dots and put that down. I do like to let this dry before I start sewing, because once it dries, it's going to be less likely to move when you are sewing. So we're going to go to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch right on these lines, just using your normal stitch length, and I'm going to use Aurifil Color 2000. So now to cut, you're just going to use a 1/4 inch line on your ruler, put that on your seam. And since I use such a light fabric, having this friction line is good because it makes it line up super easy. So you're going to do that on all of your rectangles and all of your squares, and I'm going to show you how to press. So what I'm going to first do is set my seams. That just means making everything nice and flat. So setting your seams, it takes off the friction line, but it also really locks those seams in. Now I'm going to press to one side. When you're pressing, if you put the iron right on that seam just like this, you're going to have flat seams. Now that that is done, I'm going to press everything open and press all of the seams like this. Then do an all-over press on the front to make sure everything is nice and flat. Do that on all of your squares and all of your rectangles. So this is the beautiful Jiffy quilt all put together, and you've got your squares and your rectangles, and this is so simple. For each row, you're gonna do 3 squares and 3 rectangles and alternate. You're gonna have 6 columns, and each column has 3 squares and 3 rectangles, and all you have to do is pin right here in all your intersections, and then you're gonna have a beautiful quilt that's 42 by 51. Now, if you think about this, just if you want, add some more fat quarters, add some more squares, and you can just keep building your quilt as big or as small as you want. For this size, you would need 1/2 yard binding and 3 yards backing, and we did a beautiful white pantograph, and it just blends right in, and I hope you love this Jiffy quilt as much as I do. If you like this Jiffy video, you can check out our Slice and Dice and our Mad Dash videos. Those also use fat quarters, great for the fat quarter clubs at Fat Quarter Shop. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.